Hey everyone, welcome back to Family Matters. This week on Family Matters, we are going to be talking everything to do with sleep. I don't know about you guys, but we talk about a lot in my house. We talk about it at work all the time. It's usually the number one conversations we end up having with parents is about sleep and children's behavior, right? So today I want to talk about sleep. Are we getting enough? Are our kids getting enough? How can we improve our sleep? How can we help improve our children's sleep? What's normal? What's not normal? So we're going to chat a little bit about that today. And I'm going to post all of my resources in the description, as well as the numbers for the locations that you are viewing. So we have La Cloche, Sudbury, Valley East, and Sudbury East as well. So if you have any further questions or concerns about your child's sleep patterns, please feel free to give them a call or send a private message on the Facebook group. All of my resources today have been taken from a couple Canadian websites. One is babycenter.ca, the other is the sleepfoundation.org, and the last is the Health Canada website. So a lot of the information is very similar from all of the websites. If you're looking for specifics, you can definitely hop on to the Baby Center. Has great ones that break it down month by month kind of thing. So you can see what's normal within those certain months. But we are going to talk a little bit about that today. So before we can really get into what is normal with sleep, we have to understand what we go through when we are sleeping. So we have something called circadian rhythm. And so circadian rhythm is the way our body it's a cycle, and it's our sleep-wake cycle. And often that is affected by things such as light and dark, as well as blue light coming from screens. And this is different and changes throughout our lifetime from birth until adulthood. So let's start talking about a couple different stats. So our circadian rhythms begin to develop around 6 weeks of age, and usually by 3 to 6 months, infants have a kind of a sleep-wake cycle. So the really cool thing is that by the age of 2, children have spent more of their life asleep than they actually have awake, typically. And sleep is so important for our children and for ourselves because this is the time when our body rests and repairs and works on growth and development. So let's talk about the two different types of states of sleep. So we have non-rapid eye movement sleep. Non-rapid eye movement sleep is a quiet sleep. So during states of non-rapid eye movement, this is when the blood is pumping to our muscles. This is when our energy is becoming restored, tissue growth and repair occur, and hormones are released for growth and development. So this is a really important part of sleep. Just as equally as important is our rapid eye movement, so REM sleep or active sleep. And during REM sleep, our brains are active. This is when dreaming occurs. Our bodies become immobile, and our breathing and heart rate can sometimes be irregular. So as babies, they spend about 50% of their time in each of these states. The sleep cycle is about 50 minutes. As they start to get older, about 6 months of age, REM sleep, so the rapid eye movement sleep, the active sleep, comprises of only 30% of the time that they're asleep. And by the time the children reach preschool age, which is about 3 to 5 years old, that sleep cycle is expanding to about 90 minutes. So if you ever put your child down and just before an hour they wake up and you're thinking, oh my goodness, it's because they're transitioning out of the sleep cycle to start a new cycle. And we're going to talk about what that means as a parent and what that kind of looks like. So I'm going to talk a little bit about today what's normal and maybe some tips on how to improve sleep at each stage, at each age and stage here. So we're going to talk about sleep and newborns. First, let me tell you, it is absolutely 100% normal if your baby does not sleep through the night. If you have a child that is sleeping through the night, you are super lucky. But you also might need to monitor to make sure that they're getting enough food during the day. The reasons babies wake up every 1 to 3 hours throughout the night is because their stomachs are so tiny they need to be fed. It's also a sleep mechanism because their body doesn't put them into super deep sleep because they're still learning how to breathe rhythmically, and going into a really deep sleep can sometimes be harder for their bodies to adjust to that, which is why sometimes we hear of infant death, SIDS. Babies just stop breathing. There's monitors out there to help control that, because if their body for some reason goes into a certain deep state of sleep, that can happen. So during their sleep, first off, newborns sleep anywhere from 10 and a half to 18 hours out of a 24-hour period. That's most of the day. It doesn't last for long. So newborns, we're talking 0 to 3 months, which seems to fly by so quickly. So on average, they sleep anywhere from 10 and a half to 18 hours in a 24-hour period. And during this time, often they're twitchy. So you'll see them like flexing, their arms will flex or their legs will twitch. They might smile, they might suck their thumb. They just seem restless. But that's okay because their body is adjusting and they're learning how to sleep, and their brains are going through the motions to grow and to make those new connections. Okay, so something that is a great tip to help as parents, the first thing I'm going to recommend is definitely try and start to notice those signals that your baby is tired. Every child has different signals. So for examples, obviously some kids yawn, they might rub their eyes, some kids pull at their ears, some kids just start to get a little restless, they might not make more eye contact with you. These are signs that they're just starting to get a little bit tired. It's important to know these signs because if you can catch your child before they become overtired, it's easier to get them to sleep. So watch for those patterns, and for those signs and signals that they're sending you, and you will definitely be able to, grasp and roll together a little bit smoother. When babies are born, they really don't have a circadian rhythm, right? So we talked about that doesn't really develop yet. So they have a hard time understanding night versus day. And so oftentimes, when they were in the womb, if you think about it, as we're walking around and moving, it's kind of like a nice little waterbed in there for they're like just chilling out and enjoying life and being rocked to sleep. When babies are most active is when you are laying still and calm. They're like, oh hey, we're not moving anymore, I'm going to wake up. A lot of movement happens at night because that's when we are laying down for the longest. So babies automatically come out, most babies automatically come out thinking that nighttime is actually the rocking roll party time and that daytime is time to sleep. This takes a little while sometimes for kids to kind of adjust. There's all sorts of crazy methods out there that if you wanted to try flipping your baby, and I'm not talking like flipping them in the air, there's the ways to do it and things like that. I even tried it with my own kids. It didn't work for me, but you get desperate, trust me. So there are ways out there that people swear will work for you. Really, it's timing, and it's going to be when their clock kind of tells them that it's time, like this is nighttime, this is daytime. What you can do as a parent, though, for sure, to help them out is to make a very clear definition of daytime versus nighttime. So by this, what I mean is If it's nighttime, try your best to keep things as dim and dark as possible. If you are trying to do diaper changes, keep a night light on or a very dim light, or even a different color, not white. Some people use red, just as a different shade, so that their babies don't think, oh, hey, it's bright now, it's time to be awake. On the opposite side of that, in the morning, when you wake your baby up, turn on the lights, make it bright in their room, be cheerful, be loud, talk to them. And during the day, have them out in the sunshine, put them in a window to play, not in the window, but like put them out in the sunshine of the window to play and things like that. Go outside, make them known that this is daytime, and then as evening approaches, quiet things down, be very calm and quiet, soft voices and soft lighting, and then dark equals night, right? And this goes for children 0 till whenever, even ourselves. We like to calm and get things darker, quieter as evening comes, and we like things to stay usually dark throughout the night, and we get up when it's bright. So it works the same for babies. Always place your baby on his or her back when you're putting them to sleep. No blankets, no toys, no bumpers in the cribs. If you wanted more information on that, we can definitely go further into that if you wanted to send us a message. And this one is kind of a tricky one. And I don't want to get too much into like sleep training and stuff like that, because babies can be difficult to sleep train, and especially newborns cannot be sleep trained. They should not be sleep trained, I should say, because they are waking up for specific reasons. You don't necessarily want them to sleep through the night if that's what their body's telling them not to do. That being said, you can start to put your child down when they're drowsy but not fully asleep. And what I mean by this is, like, if you are sitting nursing or rocking with your child and they notice they start to fall asleep, unlatch them, or kind of just stand up with them, and place them in the crib. Maybe keep rubbing their belly or just quietly singing, whatever the case is. If you get them and you lift up their arm and it like falls back down, they're dead asleep. And I mean, it's cool, but the chances are once you put them down, they might wake themselves up. Just because, the rhythms, the circadian rhythms and stuff, they don't learn to self-soothe and for their brains to put themselves to sleep. So over time, by doing this, it's not going to work right away for most people. It might for the miraculous 1% of life, but most people it doesn't work right away, and this is something that we're going to continue doing as they grow older. So let's jump up to 4 to 11 months. So 4 months to about a year. So around 6 years of age, infants often don't need to feed through the night. Always be sure to check with your doctor if your child's on the right track. Some kids, if they don't eat well during the day, they still need those nighttime feedings. However, most children will begin to start to cut out nighttime feedings or have them less often. And by 9 months of age, 70 to 80% of babies will sleep through the night. And don't panic if your baby is not. Each child is different, and that's okay. So around this age, 4 to 11 months, infants need to sleep anywhere from 9 to 12 hours at night, and take at least 30-minute to 2-hour naps about 4 times a day. So obviously this is going to get less as they reach the age of 1. So they might go down for an early morning nap, mid-morning nap, early afternoon, or early evening nap. And then as they get older, it would be down to 2 naps, and then usually after the year they transition to 1. But they still should be sleeping anywhere from 9 to 12 hours at night. So again, developing those daytime versus nighttime will help them adjust to when they need to be going to bed. The other thing you're going to want to start around this age, if you haven't already, it's never too late, but start a bedtime routine. This doesn't have to be a massive event. This can simply be putting lotion on them, putting them into the pajamas, maybe brushing their teeth or wiping out their gums, or this could be bath. Stories are often a good one, even if they're little. Looking at a book together, a board book, a few pages, it just gets them into that routine of the snuggle, and it says this is signaling bedtime is coming. You also want to try and have it around a regular schedule. So children are all different, obviously, but they will start to get more regular schedules around 4 to 6 months. Some children take a little bit longer, but if you can, again, watch for those signals and signs of when they're sleepy and get them down for sleep regularly, you will notice a big difference in terms of that they will be ready to sleep. Especially if you have those routines beforehand that will signal like this is time for your nap or this is time for bed. Also, putting them down again, drowsy but not sound asleep. So they could be doing the like barely blinking anymore, and you lay them down. They might fuss a little bit, rub their back, pat their bum, do whatever you need to do, but that kind of signals like, okay, I'm really tired. I need to fall asleep, and I'm in a comfortable place to do so. And their body's like, oh, bed's a good place to be, right? Okay, so let's jump up to toddler years. So this is about 1 to 2 years old. So toddlers need, on average, about 11 to 14 hours of sleep in a 24-hour period. So around the age, between the ages of, I would say 16 months and up, they usually start to decrease from 2 naps a day to 1 nap a day. And usually this nap will be anywhere from 1 to 3 hours. You want to make sure though that this nap doesn't run too long into the afternoon or is too close to bedtime, because it will affect your bedtime times. So really important for this age group too is they are growing like crazy. They're developing new skills like crazy. Their brain is so active. They might be learning to walk and talk and interact and learning these new skills. So not only are they going to be practicing some of these skills at nighttime in their crib, but their brain is making all of those connections while it's sleeping. So they might have a harder time falling asleep or staying asleep. Or if they're practicing skills such as standing up in their crib, they may not know how to sit down in their crib. So making sure you allow them to have that time to practice during the day will make a world of difference to be able to help them stay asleep and go to sleep a bit easier at night. Something else that really is prominent around this age can be nightmares for children. So they might be waking up with nightmares or fears. So some children develop like a fear of the dark, monsters, those kind of things. Just reassurance, and separation anxiety is the other one. So just reassurance that you're going to be there. This might mean having to come in the middle of the night and just check on them, but stay consistent. If you and your partner have decided that when baby cries, we're going to go in and check on them, but we're not going to pick them up out of the crib, then stay consistent and follow those rules. Otherwise, they're going to play you like a fiddle, and they're going to know, oh, mom picked me up this time when I cried for a little bit longer. She'll do it again. And you know what? We're human. It happens. But just know, try and stay as consistent as you possibly can, because it will make a difference for later on. At this age too, it is really cool because they can start to attach security to an object as well. So this is where you see kids who start to become more attached to a stuffed animal, or a blanket, or some kind of an object that makes them feel secure and safe. Two of my kids use blankets and one of them has stuffies. And those stuffies actually rotate, they change all the time. But for my younger two, it's blankets, and if it is blankets, I recommend getting blankets that are readily available to replace and easy to wash. It's because they can become pretty dingy. I'm just making sure I didn't miss anything for this age group. I'm going through my notes here. If you're noticing that they're sleepy during the daytime and it's not around nap time, or major behavior problems during the daytime, this might signal that they need to have more sleep. So again, you have to take into consideration that they need to have 11 to 14 hours in a 24-hour period. So if they're only napping for an hour a day, they may need a longer stretch of sleep at night. So that might mean moving their bedtimes a little bit sooner in the evening, to allow them to fall asleep and get that allotted amount of sleep. Now, people panic and they think, oh my gosh, if I put my kid to bed too early, they're going to wake up at 4 in the morning and be raring to go. I promise you that this, I won't say won't happen. However, sleep creates more sleep, if that makes sense. Um, the more we sleep, the more our bodies crave it. We're not going to be sleepy all the time because at a certain point we're well rested. However, the more sleep children get, so skipping naps can actually be harmful to their bedtime sleep as well. People often say, oh, just cut out their nap and they'll sleep better at night. They actually don't sleep better at night because they're overtired by that point and they may wake up more often throughout the night. So just keeping in mind and maybe doing some math, trying some adjustments and I wouldn't adjust it by hours, I would adjust it by 20 or 30-minute increments to begin with, and slowly move it to where you need to go. And if you find they're still waking up too early in the morning, adjust it as you need to in the evening to find that right balance that works for your family and your child. And each child is different. Some kids need earlier bedtimes, other ones might need a little bit later. As parents, this is a bit tricky because for anyone who has partners who work later or who work shift work, it can be really difficult because we feel guilty keeping our kids away from that person, and we often will keep them up later so that they can see that parent before bed. It, I mean, it's totally up to you as a family on what you decide, but knowing that a consistent bedtime um, will benefit you and your family overall much better than allowing them to stay up that little bit. But again, it's totally up to each individual family. But studies have shown having a consistent bedtime does help children sleep so much better. So just keep in mind, it may require some sacrifice. And it really does suck when kids are like, well, I haven't seen dad in 2 days, or I haven't seen mom because she's working. And I understand that for sure. And I mean, that is a really, really tough thing to kind of move past. But for me, sleep in my family trumped a lot of other things, and I was not flexible on bedtimes for a very long time until my kids were much older because I needed my sleep and I needed them to sleep. So that was more important for my mental health. But that's besides the point. Okay, let's move on to preschoolers. So preschoolers are those who are 3 to 5 years old. 3 to 5 year olds typically need anywhere from 11 to 13 hours of sleep, so very similar to a toddler, and they often usually cut out the naps. For sure, by the time they're 5, they should be out of naps. But oftentimes, kids will start cutting out naps around 3 years old anyway. And if they are still taking naps, you might notice that their bedtime is harder. If you're looking to cut out a nap, move the bedtime up a little bit earlier in the evening, and you might be able to eliminate that nap if you need to. So again, with this age group, they're learning so much. Their brains are very active. They're starting to get a pretty intense imagination, and you may notice things such as fears, nighttime terrors, sleep terrors, or nightmares. Other things that pop up too are sleepwalking. So especially if you have, it seems to if you have a genetic component, if you or your spouse was a sleepwalker, there's a good chance your child could sleepwalk, sleep talk, or even have night terrors if it was something you may have had when you were younger or maybe still have. So there is that. To look for, if you want more information on how to handle those things, definitely send us a message and we can help you kind of conquer those. So some important tips for preschoolers is, again, maintaining a regular sleep schedule, having the same bedtimes, try not to flux more than an hour, I would say either way, will help your child know that bedtime is coming, it's reliable, and it's consistent. Again, having a really relaxing bedtime routine, and this can evolve as your child gets older. So obviously, reading a story might turn into a couple of stories, maybe to them reading a story to you. You could add songs in there. It might turn into more regular bath times or showers before bed as well. So evolve your bedtime routine, but keep it around the same basis. The other thing that comes in around this age is technology. So oftentimes we let our children begin to dabble in technology fairly young, and 3 to 5 year olds, especially if they're starting school or in preschool, they may be exposed to some more technology, and it's important that we should end that technology at least an hour before bedtime, and definitely making sure that it is not in their room. So this also includes TVs, cell phones, tablets, leap pads, iPads, everything like that should not be in their room because it will hinder their sleep. The blue light effect is a real thing, and it does show that it blocks melatonin, which is a hormone that helps us sleep. So again, cutting it out an hour before, so no TV an hour before bed. Maybe replace that with books or quiet time together as a family, talking about your day, something like that will help your child be able to settle quicker for bed. So I'm going to jump into school-age children, and I did add this one in here just because we do go up to 6 years old. So we're going to talk about 6-year-olds to 13-year-olds. After that, they're teenagers, and that's just a whole different sleep game. Unfortunately, I can't help you there. They sleep a lot. Let's just put it that way. They sleep a lot. So we're going to talk about school-age children. So children 6 to 13 need anywhere from 9 to 11 hours. Seems very similar to preschool, right? With this age group, though, we're seeing an increase in demand for time. So we've got school, we've got homework, we've got sports, we've got extracurricular activities, we've got time for friends, social calendars, all of this stuff. At this age too, kids usually really become more involved in wanting to be on technology. So TVs, computers, social media, anything like that. And the last thing that always hinders sleep is caffeine. And I don't mean like you're giving your 6-year-old a cup of coffee. However, your 13-year-old might start drinking coffee or tea or ice caps, having chocolate before bed, or even a caffeinated pop. So keeping in mind that caffeine definitely has an effect on our sleep. So again, before bedtime, you want to cut out any technology as well as caffeine products at least an hour before bedtime. With caffeinated products, I would even say well before that if possible. Again, it will just help your body release some melatonin before bed to make them calmer, a little bit sleepier. And we want to talk about good sleep habits. So again, no technology in the bedroom, no TVs in the bedroom, keeping the lights dark, talking about the importance of regular sleep and getting enough sleep for our bodies, and the importance that it has for our hormone development, for our growth, and just for our mental well-being. Again, bedtime routine and a schedule is really important. Obviously, as they get older, it can be a little more flexible. However, do know that you may see some anxiety, some behaviors, mood swings the next day. Was one more thing I wanted to mention here. Oh, also, for the kids' bedrooms, if there are some fears, having a nightlight available, maybe sleeping with the door propped open, but keeping the room dark, cool, and quiet is your main goal for a good sleep. So that's basically where I wanted to go with sleep. And just to talk to you as an adult about what sleep looks like. So I don't want to make this video super long. We're already almost at 30 minutes. So thank you for hanging with me here. I want to know what sleep looks like in your house. Are you able to get enough sleep? I know with children, I was never a morning person before children. After children, I have to be a morning person because they're awake and I need to take care of them. But I often find myself going to bed much earlier than I used to. And for me, that's important because if I don't get enough sleep, I will physically be ill. I will get colds. I've unfortunately developed shingles. I have, gotten just some crazy ailments from lack of sleep, because I was like, I only need 3 or 4 hours of sleep tonight. It's fine. I can do this. And after doing that for so long, my body was like, nope, that's enough. When I started having kids, and you were running on that couple hours of sleep, very broken sleep throughout the day, um, on top of trying to run a household, it was exhausting. And it took me probably till my third child to realize, the heck with it, I'm going to have a nap. My kids are busy, laundry can wait, I'm having a nap. I'm exhausted and I need to sleep because my patience is paper thin right now. I am tearful, I am overwhelmed, and I just need a break. My body needs to recoup. And honestly, I feel like having that extra sleep and that extra time has really just given me extra patience for handling behaviors, and everything like that. And I also found that getting my children on a sleep schedule earlier on, definitely made things a bit easier, because I knew I could count on those nap times. I always said my first child was never a napper. She started sleeping through the night, though, quite early. She was about 10 weeks old when she started sleeping through the night, which I thought was took forever because I heard other people who are like, "Oh no, my baby's sleeping through the night and they're only a week old," and I didn't realize that it's okay and that it was normal. And my second child didn't sleep through the night till he was almost 2. So it just goes to show that each child is different and that our parenting strategies are going to be different for each child. So I want to hear your stories. How have have your parenting techniques or strategies changed? If you want to get into more like sleep training, what did you do to sleep train your child? What age did you try and do that? They definitely don't recommend before 6 months of age, again, because of the feeding thing. But I would love to know different techniques, and just how did you cope as a parent with lack of sleep and your children's behaviors and everything. So I'm really interested in reading some of those comments. If you're still hanging in there, thank you so much. I know this video was a bit longer. There's just so much information to share. Again, if you wanted to check out the specific resources, check them out in the description. Or if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to send us a private message or give our sites a call at the numbers that I listed in the description. So thanks everybody, and I hope that you have a wonderful evening, and we will talk to you next week for Family Matters.